Today, we're looking at Krishna's Oak. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, Krishna's Oak is a brown ink, and to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples, I put the ink into a different pen for a day, I then put it into a nib-assigned Singularity with a fine nib to take my notes for this video. Now, before we look at the writing samples, let's look at the sciencey bits. Up first is the chromatography, and I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down, immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see this very nice pink across the bottom, the browns, a little bit of yellow above it, but this really nice kind of turquoise color across the top. Makes you feel that there's going to be a lot of depth in the writing for this ink. The one on the right, I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And the pink line across the bottom is slightly darker, just slightly, but other than that, we really see no difference between these two in the chromatography, which makes me feel that this ink is not really going to have a whole lot of resistance to it. Now, resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pens. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, there was a lot of spread that occurred when this ink got wet. It turned from that extra fine to probably about a medium, but all of the writing is completely readable. It didn't blow out and really become mush, so I feel safe using it in a note-taking environment. Water reactivated as would be expected, lifting much of that ink off the paper. It was only 30 seconds that it had there, and we're starting to see the white of the paper coming through. That makes me feel confident that perhaps water is all that's going to be needed. Now, Pen Flush did everything that water did and a bit more. We do see more of the white of the paper coming through, but I do think that water is all that's going to be needed here. Bleach, as would be expected, completely removes it, but there should be no reason to use a 1/3 bleach solution to get this out of your pen. For the inks I've tested, I've found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Krishna's Oak has a viscosity of 2.2, making it normal, the wetter side of normal, but still normal. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done with the extra fine and medium nib on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Krishna's Oak has an average dry time of 9 seconds, making it a pretty fast drying ink, pretty darn fast. Now, let's look at the writing samples. I picked this ink up in bottle form, and I think if you want to try it, you should try it as a sample. Yeah. To keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairefontaine. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have some trouble with this ink. It's got no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the exact same tone with no feather spread, halo, sheen, or shade. 8 seconds to dry. The medium has the exact same tone with no feather spread, halo, sheen, no shade. 12 seconds to dry. I'm like a 5-year-old here. I'm sorry. The extra fine and the medium scrubby are both shown no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it in the smear test. If you smear it, you can still see it. I got to bring this back out because the tone of this, it looks like poo. We're going to wipe this mess up. Tomoe River. It's a thinner, softer sheet, grip better for wiping. No bleeding. Yes, we get ghosting. You see the poo through the paper. This is a horrible color. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine gives us the exact same tone of brown, of oak. Dropping logs. Oak. Yay, poo jokes. This is going to be bad. I'm going to try real hard. I'm going to have to edit out a whole bunch of crap. Extra fine is no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. It has the exact same tone that we got with the 1.1. It took 14 seconds to dry. It was a wet one. Hold on, there we go. The medium has the exact same tone with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, 17 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it. The smear test, it smears. So here's the funny thing is I took my notes with singularity, and this is the first time this ever happened. It ran like crazy through the pen. I had to completely flush it out, start all over again, and only put a little less in it. It's funny. It was like pen diarrhea up here. Yeah, I gotta get like a poop joke counter for this one. Rhodia. No bleeding. That's not a bleed spot. That's a spot from the page underneath. No ghosting. You don't see the poo through the paper. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine has a slightly lighter tone with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. 9 seconds to dry. The medium becomes a darker tone just like we saw with the 1.1 with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. 12 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both. When you scrub, you get no color variation. We didn't see any color variation. And when you smear it, it smears. But you could recover it. Hazel paper. I made it through that one. I made it through one. Hazel comes from these notebooks. I ordered it when I ordered the ink through Krishna. It was on their webpage. I find this paper to be absolutely fantastic. It is a pocket-sized notebook. Great paper. It's a bit toothier than we're used to in the States, and it is great. It has no bleeding, no ghosting. It has performed fantastic on so many inks. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is a slightly lighter tone with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. 4 seconds to dry. The medium is a darker tone, much darker than the other two, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. 6 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both have no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. And the smear test. You could recover the medium. You could not recover the extra fine when you smear it. See that? I didn't do it. I didn't do the jokes. P. Berger. This is a French ruled paper. It's a student paper. Now it bled like crazy. It has tons of show through. It does not touch the page underneath. You could not use the back of this page. But it's not ruled for you to use the back. The 1.1 has a lot of feathering. It has spread. It has no halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the exact same tone that we got with the 1.1. It has no spread. It has tiny feathering all over it. No halo, sheen, no shade. 2 seconds to dry. The medium is a darker tone with spread. Tons of feathering. It's got words that just look blurry, like quick looks blurry. Jumps looks blurry. That's not the camera being blurry. That's the feathering. No halo, sheen, shade. 3 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. In the smear test, you could recover it after you smear it all over the place. Levenger paper. No bleeding. No ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo, sheen, or shade. The extra fine is a slightly lighter tone with no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. 5 seconds to dry. Now the medium is the darkest by far tone that we're getting here with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. 7 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both shows no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. And the smear test, you could likely recover it if you smeared while you were writing. Look at that brown. Look at that brown. Oh my God. Oh God. That's all that I have for the writing sample. Instead of finding inks that look like Krishna's oak, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. Now, because Krishna's oak tends to be a very dark brown, a lot, it can be lighter with the right pen, but it's often very dark, and I chose a nice lighter green. Elixir's River Safari. Before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. So what do I think of Krishna's Oak? Now, there really wasn't much shading to go on with this ink. The biggest thing that actually I have to talk about is the color. It looks like poo. It looks like you got liquid poo in your pen and wrote with it. It's kind of disturbing. It's gross. The color's gross. I'm gonna say that it's gross. I don't like it. Sorry. Thanks for watching.